Hey, what's up YouTube? It's your boy Breezy from the H-Town. Let's get on back with another reaction video. This was requested by my baby, man. Shout out to you, Yolanda, babe. You the best. Suge Knight reveals who killed Biggie in prison interview. This was a month ago, 1.1 million views. But to me, my opinion, I believe I believe that Suge Knight has something to do with Biggie getting killed and Pac, because they both, Pac and Biggie got killed the same way. Suge has something to do with that. That's just my opinion. How y'all feel about it? But anyway, y'all, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, follow my social media description right down below. Road to the 600 to the 600. But anyway, y'all, let's get into this, man.
Hello, this is a prepaid collect call from. To accept charges, press 1.
And the other thing is for Biggie, so I'm quite sure if he saw the first one, they would have saw the second one, because it's the same circle of people, have nothing to do with me. And multiple?
Nothing to do with you. Really. Bridge fam, do y'all? I don't know, guys. How y'all feel about it? I'm gonna leave it to the Jay Bridges family. What y'all think? Y'all think Suge had something to do with it? He told me it ain't had nothing to do with him. The circle or whatever. What y'all think, Jay Bridges family? If y'all a Pac fan, Biggie fan, or whatever, do y'all think Suge? Who is y'all opinion, Jay Bridges family? I believe Suge had something to do with that. Forget what he talking about. Jay Bridges family. Let me know in the comments.
Prison interview since being incarcerated, Suge Knight, while speaking on the murder case of Biggie Smalls, has claimed that if the first case was solved, being the death of Tupac, then the second case, being Biggie, would also be solved, as according to him, it was the same group of people. This was in its claims of rogue cops of the Rampart scandal allegedly being involved. The LAPD Rampart scandal was one of the worst cases of police corruption in United States history. Former LA detective Russell Paul, who was the first person to investigate the Biggie case, filed police reports which claimed cops from the Rampart scandal worked security for Suge Knight's record label Death Row Records. Before Russell Paul dropped dead in the LA County Sheriff's Office in 2015, he wanted to apologize to Suge Knight for initially accusing him of orchestrating the hit. In this video, we're going to take a look into Suge Knight's claims during his prison interviews about the death of Biggie Smalls. Biggie Smalls was a rapper from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, who started rapping in the streets before releasing a demo in the early 1990s. The demo was picked up by Unsigned Hype, being featured in a Source magazine, which Sean Puffy Combs was involved in. Puffy signed him at the age of 19 to his label Bad Boy Records, and he released his first studio album, Ready to Die, in 1994. Biggie was friends with artist Tupac Shakur during his time, where Tupac showed him how to arrange songs and how to market them to...
Alright, John, my bad, y'all. Let's continue with the video. The camera cut off.
It added fuel to the fire. The day after being shot 4 times, Tupac was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison, and he began to hear New York rappers dissing him on the radio. Puffy had another relationship turned sour, being with Suge Knight. Suge Knight was the owner of highly successful West Coast label Death Row Records. Suge Knight and Puff Daddy used to hang out with each other when they were in the same area. Puff Daddy asked Suge Knight on how to deal with the FBI, as they were both under surveillance. This relationship soon took a dark turn. The Source magazine held its second annual award ceremony at Madison Square Garden in New York City on August 3rd, 1995. While there, while receiving an award, Suge Knight gave a shout out to Tupac, who was in prison, and then went on to diss Puff Daddy, hinting that Biggie should sign to Death Row.
Any artists out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the video, all on the record, dancing. Come come to death row?
I never had a problem with it. In reality, my plan was to bring him to death row.
Snoop Dogg, who was signed to death row, then had an outburst towards the New York audience, and Puffy responded to the diss. The incident caused tension between New York and Los Angeles and Bad Boy and Death Row Records. Death Row group The Dog Pound, along with Snoop Dogg, had their trailer shot up in New York a month later on September 17th, 1995, while they were filming a music video, and Biggie went on the radio announcing that they were there, with the gunshots happening after. Therefore, Biggie set them up to get shot due to the ongoing animosity between Bad Boy and Death Row Records. Suge Knight, just 6 days after this, went to a birthday party in Atlanta, which Puffy also went to. Suge Knight's friend and Blood gang member Jake Robles was shot at the party and died a week later in hospital. Kirk Burroughs, the former president of Bad Boy Records, claimed in a federal lawsuit that Puffy authorized the 1995 murder of Jake Robles, a close friend of Suge Knight and member of the MOB Pirate Bloods.
And I think Jake's thing was more of a setup job.
In the following month of October 1995, Suge Knight bailed out Tupac out of prison to make music for Death Row Records. Suge Knight and Tupac now both had a history of Bad Boy Records, which was a deadly combination waiting to happen. Death Row held a Christmas party in the Hollywood Hills in December of 1995, where Suge Knight and Tupac, along with others, locked music promoter Mark Anthony Bell inside one of the rooms and beat him with champagne bottles after he refused to give up the address of Puffy's family members in Los Angeles. Word got back to Puffy, and he was now apparently very scared of Suge Knight and enforced some gang security while in Los Angeles. Puffy had already made an alliance with the Southside Compton Crips in the early 90s, who were the rivals of Suge Knight's MOB Piru Compton Bloods. Puffy would give the Southside Compton Crips tickets to his shows in Los Angeles to protect himself from the Bloods. One of these Southside Crips was a shot caller by the name of Keefy D, who was the uncle to fellow Southside Crip Orlando Anderson. After the incident with the champagne bottles in December of 1995, Puffy performed at a concert in Anaheim, California, where the Southside Crips were given tickets to show up. Keefy D claims that afterwards, Puffy had taken him and the Southside Crips to a hotel room where Puffy allegedly made claims about how better life would be if Tupac and Suge Knight were gone. The 1996 Soul Train Music Awards was held on March 29th in the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles, and during the event, Biggie and Tupac got into a confrontation which led to Death Row and Bad Boy also getting into it. Puffy's former bodyguard Eugene Dill claimed after the incident he heard Puffy shout out of frustration, "I don't care if Pac gotta die, I don't care if Big gotta die, I don't care if Suge Knight gotta go to jail." Orlando Anderson was involved in a chain-snatching incident in the following month of April 1996, where he tried to snatch the Death Row chain off of the neck of Suge Knight's associate and MOB Blood Trayvon Lane. Puffy's name was attached to a rumor in the streets of Los Angeles that at the time he would give $10,000 for a Death Row chain, but it was only a rumor. Suge Knight was getting ready to start Death Row East at...
This is crazy, man. 95, 96 was crazy with Death Row and Bad Boy Records, man. This was a crazy beat, man. East versus West, man. The East Coast versus the West Coast. That's crazy.
This time, which was going to take over the East Coast territory. He had already signed former Bad Boy artist Craig Mack and was looking to sign Biggie. Eric B and Big D were going to head Death Row East, which made them tell Suge Knight to get Tupac to clear the air with the East Coast by pointing out exactly who he was dissing. Hit 'Em Up, the infamous diss track recorded in May of 1996, was then released in June, which featured impersonators of Biggie and Puffy, and Tupac claimed he had an affair with Biggie's wife Faith Evans. After this, in the summer of 1996, Keefe D claimed Puffy invited him to the Greenblatt's Deli in Los Angeles, where he allegedly asked Keefe D if it was possible to get rid of Suge Knight and Tupac, and Keefe D claims himself then put forth $1 million bounty which was allegedly agreed on. Suge Knight and Tupac were shot at in a drive-by shooting while on the Las Vegas Strip in September of 1996.
Damn.
3 days after promoting Death Row East on the streets of New York while attending the MTV Awards, Suge Knight and Tupac traveled to Las Vegas for several reasons. Tupac had to perform at Club 662 as part of community service, as just 2 weeks before the trip, he was sentenced to it, where to avoid jail time, he would have to perform community service as part of a benefit gig for a Metro police officer at Club 662. Death Row's head of security, former Compton cop Reggie Wright Jr., had several police officers supplying security for the event. Tupac's bodyguards, Frank Alexander and Michael Moore, have gone on record claiming that the morning of that day, Reggie Wright Jr. held a meeting at the house of the attorney for the club, where he told the security not to carry their weapons. Reggie Wright Jr. has defended these claims by saying that he told them not to carry their weapons while at the club due to the high-profile event it was set to be. However, since Michael Moore refused to surrender his weapon, he removed him from Tupac and made him stay at the club. Suge Knight was encouraged to bring celebrities to the club due to the charitable event taking place to spread awareness. Mike Tyson was supposed to appear at the club, who was also having a boxing match that night at the MGM Grand, which Suge Knight and Tupac went to watch. Tupac and Suge Knight saw Orlando Anderson in the MGM Grand lobby after the fight, after Trayvon Lane pointed him out. Tupac then went over and attacked him along with the Death Row entourage, then they went back to their hotel rooms and Suge went back to his house in Vegas. Orlando Anderson went to the lobby bar in the MGM Grand where he met up with Keefe D, along with New Yorker Eric Zip Martin, who introduced Keefe D to Puffy. Keefe D claims Zip, who knew about the alleged $1 million bounty, then said to Keefe D that it was the perfect opportunity to claim it. Keefe D claims 2 vehicles then drove to Club 662 waiting for Tupac and Suge Knight to arrive, as Tupac was set to perform there. After it took a while for them to arrive, Keefe D claims him, along with Southside Crips, Orlando Anderson, Terrence Brown, and DeAndre Smith, got into a white Cadillac rented by Terrence Brown's mother-in-law, where they eventually found Suge Knight and Tupac within a BMW on the Las Vegas Strip.
Hey guys, I'm sorry y'all. Sorry, I had to go take care of what I need to take care of. But yeah, let's continue with the video. We got 6 minutes in. Oh wait, hold on, yeah.
Where they eventually found Suge Knight and Tupac within a BMW on the Las Vegas Strip. Keefe D claimed he gave a Glock to Orlando Anderson, who fired it into the BMW, hitting Tupac 4 times and leaving Suge Knight with injuries to the head and chest. 6 days after the shooting, Tupac died in hospital after his mother took him off of life support. Following the shooting, the New Yorkers who were at the restaurant with Keefe D called Eugene Dill, being Puffy's bodyguard, to tell him what went down in Las Vegas. The day after the shooting, Keefe D and the Southside Crips returned to Los Angeles. While there, Zip called him and asked him to meet at a restaurant. Keefe D claimed Puffy called Zip and asked, "Was that us?" and Zip told him it was. He also claimed that Biggie Small's wife, Faith Evans, called Zip too and asked was it them that done it. Eugene Dill, being Puffy's bodyguard, claimed he saw the $1 million check, which was given to Jimmy Henchman, who was with Puffy the very first time Tupac got shot, being in New York in 1994. Eugene Dill claimed the check was disguised under a payment to Blackground Records, which was given to Jimmy Henchman, then given to Zip, with the intention of it going to the Southside Crips, but 6 weeks passed, and Keefe D got no response from Zip. An FBI investigation claimed that Zip used the money to buy a nightclub. Suge Knight, in a prison interview, claimed Orlando Anderson was not the shooter, and something else went down entirely, with it being connected to the murder of Biggie Smalls 6 months later.
And the sad thing about it, Orlando wasn't even the shooter, you know?
This is crazy.
Biggie Smalls was murdered in a drive-by shooting outside the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles 6 months after Tupac. He was in Los Angeles to film.
That is crazy. Pac died, then 6 months later, Biggie died. That's crazy, man.
A video for his song Hypnotize, along with Help Puffy on his upcoming album. He was murdered in a drive-by shooting in a similar fashion to Tupac, while stopped at a red light following an after-party. During the time, Suge Knight was in prison due to the assault on Orlando Anderson. In a later prison interview, he claimed that the same group of people were involved in both murders and it had nothing to do with him.
And the other thing is for Biggie, so I'm quite sure if they saw the first one, they would have saw the second one, because it's the same circle of people, have nothing to do with me.
After Biggie's murder, there were several suspects. A civil trial against the city of Los Angeles by Biggie's family claimed corrupt cops from the LAPD Rampart division were involved in the murder.
Who killed rapper Notorious B.I.G. and were LAPD officers involved?
LAPD detective Russell Poole provided evidence on this, which the trial was based on. A police report by LA detective Russell Poole claimed police from the LAPD Rampart division were working security for Death Row Records.
Suge was implicated, and to some degree, Reggie Wright Jr. was too, because all these cops, I mean, they're working for Suge and Death Row, but Reggie was the one hiring him.
Some of the cops associated to the label, according to findings, for a robbery, and afterwards testified during the Rampart scandal. He claimed to have been a self-ref in 1997, where he stole 722.
Anything else? Well, I guess, hey, y'all, this was Suge Knight reveals who killed Biggie in prison interview. This is crazy to me, man. At that time, when Pac died, I was turning 1 year old. Well, I was 1.5. Then when Biggie died, I was going on 2 years old. But damn, man, yeah, any of y'all, man, make sure I like, comment, subscribe, follow my social media, skip my number, road to the 600 to the 600, 30 more subscribers away. Anyway, JB's Family King reaction. See you in the next reaction. Road to the 600 to the 600.
Yeah, what's happening? J Breeze, J